Good evening. Welcome to TDM Talk Show. While the number of reported drug abuses in Macau has recorded a year-on-year decline in the first half of 2020, the authority points out that the hidden drug abuse problem still persists. Today, we have Augusto Nogueira, ARTM Macau Executive Director, who is going to tell us more about the drug problem in the SAR. Welcome to the show, Augusto.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
So we are now living under the COVID-19 pandemic, which makes 2020 a really unique year. So does that and other factors affect the drug problem here in Macau?
The factors that the COVID-19 affected. Yes, there was a huge decline due to COVID-19. So I think because of the difficulty of the drugs to enter in the market due to the borders that are being closed, that of course affect not only the trafficking but also the consumption. So we can say there's a huge decline in the first semester, around 37% in the consumption, and among the youth around 26, if I'm not mistaken, percentage. But I think this is a very typical year, so we cannot take this percentage as a credibility for the coming years, because this is just because of the COVID. We believe. I think that many of these people, of these persons, when there's a release of the restrictions, and so many of them will resume to the consumption of drugs.
But if we look at the previous figures, like over the past years, are we seeing a decline trend, or are we actually seeing an uphill trend of drug using in the SAR?
I think it's been mainly a standards stabilize or a small percentage increase, but stabilize. What we see mainly, it's a different trend of drugs. Those traditional drugs like the heroin, almost they're not being used, and we see other drugs coming up, and the other ones they are not used in Macau. But they are very traditional, like the cocaine, starting to be very common, starting to show up. So, but basically, in terms of consumption, I think the numbers has been more or less stabilized, and the increase is just it's not significant.
But what contributes to that change of drugs or illicit substances that are abused in Macau?
It's trends. People start to realize that different drugs make them feel more lost, or more physical and health mentally more damage. So when they realize that, they start to use other drugs. For instance, a few years ago, we could see that there was a huge consumption of ketamine among the youth, and suddenly the ketamine basically disappear. Still exists, but decline a lot, because people start to realize that there are very severe consequences in the health. But then they tend to change other ones, like the methamphetamine, which also brings a huge mental issues, but not so damage in terms of the perception of the people. When they realize that maybe the methamphetamine is destroying their mental perception, they're having irreversible mental problems, eventually they'll think to change for another ones. Then it's a question of trend, of fashion. Then the people stop one drugs and start using another ones, and then later on they'll stop that one and come back to the other one, to the previous one.
So it seems that users are getting smarter somehow in terms of choosing some drugs that they think are less damaging. But is it also a worrying sign, because they might have the wrong perception that they are in control in the whole situation, but the fact is, they are still suffering eventually from this habit.
Yes, actually any drug user, doesn't matter what drug is using, he always believes that he's having a self-control of his own consumption, which in reality he's not having. He might have at the early stage, in the beginning, but then will not have anymore. But he still have that perception that he's having the self-control, and that is very dangerous because the problem will increase and years will pass, and then when they come for help, already maybe 5 or 6 or 10 years pass on the addiction, and it will be much more difficulty and much more health consequences that they need to suffer.
You actually mentioned methamphetamine just now as one of the drugs that is kind of now in the trend somehow. Are there another drugs that people should be mindful of that are kind of popular nowadays
but all the drugs that people need to be very careful. Currently in Macau, there's the 3 main ones is methamphetamine, cocaine, and cannabis. For instance, cocaine, we could see a huge increase before the COVID-19. We have many youth coming from Hong Kong to sell cocaine in Macau. So it's a very dangerous and a very addictive drug. Happened to COVID, so stopped by now. But yes, the main 3 drugs currently, it's the methamphetamine and cocaine and the cannabis.
So you mentioned that actually the COVID-19 had kind of stopped, it cut out the transportation.
Yes.
And do you think that some people might really take this chance to quit?
Sure, there are people that are going to take the chance to quit by themselves. Other ones will try to find different ways of getting treatment, not necessarily NGO, other means by doctors or hospital. I have no idea. But some people try, and some people stop by themselves, and then it's kind of a Russian roulette. When the things will open again, we will see those ones that they'll take this opportunity. Okay, I'll not take anymore. I was destroying my life, and there are going to be other ones that they will resume their consumption.
Mm-hmm. So sometimes the authority and also the Social Welfare Bureau would point out that there is this hidden drug abuse problem in Macau. So what some of our audience is not really understanding this, like what hidden drug problem? Can you tell us a little bit more about
it? I really like this word, hidden. Anyone use drugs, it's normally they will do it in a hidden way, right? So nobody wants to be caught and have to face the court. But in many other countries, there was in different kind of drugs. There was a more open consumption, and then with the different kind of drugs starting to show up, like the methamphetamine, and and also the drug laws being more hard. So the people started to take drugs more at home or friends' home, so to avoid to be caught by the law enforcement. So at the same time that the law enforcement or the laws try to let's say try to scare the people to not use drugs, they also have a different effect, and that will push the people that use drugs for more hidden ways of using the drugs, and more hard for the outreach team to assess. They will be more scared also to assess the healthcare system, because they're scared that they need to make urine tests. Someone gonna know. The police will be informed, and they need to face the justice. And also different kind of drugs that require different kind of tools. For instance, methamphetamine, you need to use a bong, so normally people don't gonna carry a bong with them to use the methamphetamine. It will be very obvious in case the police show up. And also in Macau, for instance, now with the new law that the police eventually, if they see someone with dubious behavior, they can require to make urine test. So it's obvious that the people prefer to use drugs in the hidden places, at home, a friend's home, and tend to more stay at home than to go to some locations to have fun, because they don't want to be caught.
So it makes the outreach team it makes it more difficult for the outreach team to reach them essentially.
It makes more difficult. It also, and also the people will be more scared to find for help because they fear that they can be exposed and they need to face the court.
How do like the service providers of the outreach service providers, how do they cope with this change of behavior that people are using it at home? How are they going to reach them if they are not outside?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult to reach them. Mainly it's mouth to mouth because we know someone, and someone knows someone, and then we manage to reach. But they also are a very close community, so it's not easy to target them. So it requires a lot of trust between them and the outreach teams. And so we can assess and we can provide some help or at least some information.
So you mentioned that it is a really closed community, partly also, I guess, because it is not, taking drug is not something that is positive,
of course,
in the community. But in your opinion, how does the majority of the population in Macau see drug users nowadays? Because we know that in the past, drug users are basically like criminals. Like they are equal as criminals. But does that change in the previous years? And actually, how does public perception hinder or help people struggling with drug abuse?
Well, I think the major has been an increase of the understanding of the problem of the drug addiction of the drug users. And there be a more understanding that it's people that they are vulnerable and they need help, support, and they don't need to be sent to the prison. I think this has been an increase in the community of a more understanding and more compassion to the people that they are suffering from using drugs. But also, it's been many years of stigma and discrimination, and the people tend to focus, or the community tend to focus more in the negative aspects. And everybody knows someone that at some stage went to the treatment and then relapse, and then they will focus on that. So for them, still for many people, for them their conception is that the people relapse after they will relapse on drugs. So no need to help them because sooner or later they will be on drugs. But this is not true. There are many people recover from drugs. Actually, many people. But it's something that people cannot say I'm a recover from drugs because there's still a lot of stigma, and the people scared to lose their jobs, and to not be accepted in the society because of their past, because the people are scared that it's going to happen, they're going to relapse, they're going to steal something. So the people only going to focus in this negative, but we can see also increase of people that understand, they have compassion, and they support the treatment centers, they support the people that use drugs. We just made a charity dinner on last Saturday, and we have around 260 people, and a lot of support of the community. So that means that there's a lot of people that understand that the drug abuse have treatment, the recovery is possible, and relapse makes part of the treatment process. And just because someone relapses 1 time, 2 times, this means will not be recover. And we have people that relapse maybe 8, 9, 10 times, and now they are very helpful persons working in the ARTM, or other ones in the society. So what we need to do is still believe in the people, giving them hope, giving them support, and the success will be possible.
You just mentioned the prison thing. Like some people still think that sending drug users to prison would be the best thing that could be done, but of course we all know that that's not true. Yes. And some of our audience may also know the rehabilitation, but they may not really understand like what do people do when they are doing the rehab. Can you tell us a little bit more about like what are actually the better alternatives to sending people to prison, and what actually are people doing when they are in the rehab?
Well, there's a lot of alternatives instead to send to the prison, right? Sending to the rehab, to some NGO, community work, not in Macau, but in many places they use community work, fines, and so there's a lot of ways that we can provide, or if in Macau we have a different law, but that in many other countries they have, and it's possible to provide to the people that use drugs according with what the level of their crime that they committed. Because we cannot forget there are some people that they are being caught and they just have unlucky, they've just been caught first time, and they are maybe using for the first time and they have bad luck. Other ones, they are chronics, they keep using, and other ones, they never have any crime behind, never happened, nothing. So there's a lot of ways to see how we can refer this person for treatment, but any of the options, either treatment, community work, fines, it will be much more cheaper than send them to the prison. And the success of the recovery it will be much more high than to send them to the prison. What the people do in treatment? Well, they do a lot of things. There's counseling meetings, individual counseling meetings, group meetings, counseling group meetings, activities. People they learn skills for them, can help them to have to go back to the society. There's intensive care, intensive attention, compassion to the people. They help each other because we are a therapeutic community, so we help each other. We have different levels of evolution groups that the people they are responsible for the younger ones, so they need to care about each other. They spread compassion and love between them. So they attend meetings, they engage in activities, in organizing activities, not we providing to them for them to participate, but themselves being the ones organizing, being the ones in charge of all the organization, of all the setup of the things. So it's very intensive, and if someone is feeling not comfortable, not feeling good, we have the perception of that, and we can see if someone is not is struggling with something, and immediately there's someone there to say, what's happening with you? Can we talk? Let's talk. There's this kind of care and attention which in the prison or any other place that don't exist. So is that there's intensive care, intensive attention to the person, and then when the people finish the treatment, we also advise some people that we stay there for 1 year, and we know they're not completely recover, so we advise them to stay more longer. And those ones that they leave, we help them before they leave, we help them to find jobs. We go with them to the interviews, we help so when they leave the center, they can already have a job. And then they'll have a follow-up with another department from ARTM, the follow-up department, that they can attend the meetings, they can go there for the counseling, to help them to go back to the society, and the link between the person and the families, which is very important, because we cannot forget that the families, they suffer for quite a long time, and when they receive back their family member, they still need to build a trust. And this is very important this trust is very important for don't happen the relapse, because if the person feel that the family is not trusting, he might lose his why I make my effort, why I went to rehab, nobody trusts me. So the family is very important to trust in the person, and for that we also have our teams that have regular family meetings to teach the families how to accept back the family member.
You mentioned that actually the lack of trust, the lack of care from the family it can be one of the major reasons that people would choose drug again. Is there another reason behind people relapsing? Major reasons?
There's many reasons. Some is because they and we need to be honest, because they care more about drugs than themselves. sometimes because they don't feel comfortable being themselves.
Okay.
They are used to be that toxic person, so they feel that, they miss that, they feel lonely, they feel empty, and the other ones because they don't, I mean, difficulty to find jobs, difficult to, also there's sometimes lack of, you know, they don't want to find jobs. So there's many reasons, and nothing particularly, but there's many reasons that make the people relapse. There are people relapse after many years. Because we also need to when the people take drugs, there's a huge and big sensations inside of the persons that they are sometimes very difficult and to forget them, and we cannot say, and we can say that the drugs, they erase all the pain. So people sometimes tend to take drugs to forget their problems and to forget their pain. Then they relapse. But it's, as I say, it's a question of intensive therapy to make the people understand that they can overcome all the problems. But sometimes, you know, human beings, they have, we are strong and we are weak. So happen. Sometimes relapse, sometimes people go ahead.
So we understand that ARTM is now running a cafe in Canal. Can you tell us a little bit more about that project?
Yes, the Hope on to Hope project. It's not running a cafe, and it's not running a gallery. It's running a career training, so to help the people before they enter into society to learn more skills that will help them to have a better reintegration in the society. So basically, they'll be learning how to prepare some food and beverage, and how to set up a gallery, how to pack how to frame, unpacking, and how to manage, and how to the stock of the goods. So basically, they'll be running that place in terms of a learning process to help them to have a better reintegration. So we have been working. We have trained with Win Academy. We are very thankful to them. Also to the Association of the Active Gastronomy, the new association from Portuguese chefs, that they're gonna start a training with our residents. Also to the Roadhouse, they've been supporting as well, teaching us. And our idea is to, for the next year, we keep going with the trainings, so the people, and hopefully we can be able to refer people from this phase of this project into the work. So that is so we are not looking for the lucrative profit. Our focus is to help the people to have a better skills for their integration, and obvious at the same time to make Canal as that place a beautiful place, a very nice environment, a very tranquil place, to be a place where the families and the local population, and hopefully in the future the tourists can go there and enjoy, and our effort and praise our boys and girls in their process of rehabilitation, and back to the beginning, to improve and the stigma that the society still have from them.
Because it seems that the society, like, you know, there are a lot of institutions in the society are willing to lend a helping hand,
Yeah.
and does that send a positive message to the people in rehab, and actually to your organization, that, you know, there are actually people who care?
Exactly. There's a lot of people care, as I said in the beginning. There's a lot of people care. There's a bigger, better perception of understanding and compassion to the people that use drugs, and willing to help them, willing to teach them, to support them, and to give jobs to them. And that is it's a sign for the society. It's a good sign for us. It's a good sign for the residents of ARTM, and it's a good sign also for the law, let's say, because we can see that the people that come to, in this case, to come to ARTM or to other NGOs, they have a better chance to recover and to learn things and to be again in society without using drugs than being sent to the prison.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Augusto.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And that's all for tonight's talk show. Thanks for watching. Good night.